Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone is well. Thank you for being here, and if you're returning from last week, um, good. I hope everyone got their permission slip signed by their parent or guardian. Otherwise, you're not allowed to attend. Sorry. Okay. So last week we were covering. Oh wait, I got it still as a banner. So this was last week's. Which one was it? It was about refusing help. I think this is the one. So people who refuse help, and is it useless, pointless, telling them to self-care and love? Does it cause more harm than good? All right, so this week we're going to be covering. So how do we? Maybe we should have done this really before the other one, but how do we identify and help people who want to escape drama or their situation and inspire them to take better care of themselves? So a bit of self-care here. And who is really worth, parenthesis, saving or educating with our time? Because obviously, realistically, you can't help but save everyone. And if you're trying to help everyone, it can take away from those. It kind of doesn't sound very nice, but you got to sort of prioritize a little bit. So how do you know if someone is worth saving or educating with our time? How do you let them go? What to do about it now? So I should really hold on. Okay, I'll welcome our guest on, and then I'll recopy that as a banner to have at the bottom of the screen to remind us. So we had our guest last for this series. We've had a guest Bandit. So we will find out. Let's find out. Can I move this closer? Right. Let's see. Where is Bandit? Let me turn this up. Where is Bandit? Where is Bandit? Are you there? Has he found it? Discord is where it landed. Now we're waiting for his red-eye stare. Oh, Bandit. There he is.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Not bad.
That was good. That was good. Never had an intro before, so that's hilarious, and that's good. I appreciate it.
Yep. You can expect to have interruptions throughout.
Yo. I'll take that in stride.
Yeah. No. I must be more mature than that. So I'll put the keyboard away.
No, have your fun. I'll be the last to tell you not that fun.
By the end of it, I'll be playing some Mozart or something. But anyway, how you been?
I've been well. How about you?
Yeah, all right. Not too bad. The kids on half term, so would have liked to have nicer weather for it, but making do with the way things are,
That's good.
But time flies. We should be back at school before you know it.
Oh, I know. It's crazy how fast that summer goes. It's crazy. Before we start, I just want to say real quick, to all the veterans and everybody in the chat, happy belated Memorial Day, and thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you very much for the services and for the freedoms. Well, sort of. Hopefully, we're gonna not let their efforts go to waste or be in vain, and we actually appreciate and make use of the sacrifices that they have paid for. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Instead of us being selfish, arrogant jerks who squander their time and don't have any appreciation for what kind of world they're trying to create for us.
Agreed. Couldn't say it better.
So if you're not doing good, thou shalt feel ashamed.
Exactly.
Right. So we have some people in the chat. So yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Angler, Sean, Silver Bullets, Ian, Freebird, Dak, Chris, and anyone else. Okay. So, all right. Did you catch the question, or you got an idea what we're going to? All right. So would you like to take it away, and I'll just do a little bit of admin here, just so I can put the question in the banner.
Okay. For the most part, if you can't change somebody that doesn't want to be changed. It's damn near impossible. The only way you're going to change somebody is they have to want it themselves. And you might see that they're destroying their lives, but until they want to change or something forces their change, aka getting arrested or hitting rock bottom, you can't do anything. So the best thing you can do is be the light in the tunnel. Always give him or her the ability to reach out to you when they actually hit rock bottom. Know that you're there for them, and try to live a good example of what a decent human being is. And maybe that might be what it takes to inspire them to change.
Right. So I think that's an excellent point. That we hear similar things said in the narcissist survivor community. It's like, you're trying to get through and they don't want to listen. They're happy in their world, even though you can see that it's doing them harm and disservice, but they're happy. And like you say, they're not going to change unless crisis comes along, typically.
Mm-hmm. Yes, typically.
But there was a very particular point you said, I think, is let's look at this bit for a second here. Is being more useful or helpful actually based in being a support, a safety net for when that time does come? Does that carry more weight than we give it credit for?
Yes, because most people, just like when you present a new idea or in a stressful situation, they don't know where to turn to. Their mind is going 500 miles an hour. They're going, oh my God, I got to do X, I got to do Y. I'm lost, don't know what to do. In the back of their mind, if you tell them, I'm there for you. When you need advice or whatever, you need help, just reach out. Basically, you're giving them the opportunity to reach out to you when they do hit rock bottom. If people don't know that you're in their court, they might self-delete.
So in some ways, then it's better to be a reliant, supportive, probably like a friend who doesn't really get in their face all that much, but has displayed either like loyalty and openness and acceptance, than that out of the blue kick up the backside,
yes,
get it in your face and giving you a telling off.
You put it this way, you make more friends with honey than vinegar, if you know that saying.
I've heard that a couple of times. Yeah.
And the other thing is with it, if you are also the epitome of what you stand for. So say, for example, your friend is into drugs. Okay. If you're the best example of a drug-free life, when they do hit rock bottom, they're going to come to you. If you're a good show of character, you are the epitome of a decent person, helpful, understanding, willing to take flack even though it's not your fault. If you show all these qualities, you're going to be the person they're going to come to when they do hit rock bottom, when they want to change. So you have to display preventively what you really want to be, and giving them that person that they're going to need in the future. It's kind of like, I hate to say you're not really manipulating them, but you're basically, in a sense, showing them, hey, you hit rock bottom, I got you. I've been there.
It was making me think that the most like effective kind of role model is one at a point of crisis, because you're at a crisis, you need to change, you don't know what to do. That time sounds like more than ever is going to be when you start looking out at directions of like, right, who's a good role model that who could guide me.
Yeah, but I mean, in a sense, when someone's in crisis, what do they need? They need the opposite of crisis. They need stability. They need an answer to their problems and stability. If you offer those two things, those are the people you always come to when someone needs help. You know that person in your friend group that's always helping people out even though they don't ask for it.
Yeah,
And most
but
of the time they offer stability and they offer a solution.
well, I mean, I know you mean stability in a kind of positive sort of change, progressive type of way, but there is a sort of the negative version where it's like enabler type of stability that
Yes.
prevents the change and keeps them there, but makes them feel like a false sense of security. They feel reassured, but nothing
Okay,
has
let me
changed, you know.
what I mean by stability is you're giving them the life they should be having as stability. So, for example, if someone's manic and they're all over the place, and then they finally, they're happy, they're sad, that their life's devolving and falling apart. If you're that person in their life that's stable, doing well, has the things that they want, they're gonna come up to you and be like, "My life's going into the crapper."
But
What?
would they recognize that as a healthy, positive stability, considering especially where they're originating from, which is they're more, even though it's like chaotic or whatever, they're at least familiar with it. They feel more
Because
comfortable with it.
they should recognize it because actions speak louder than words. You know that person in your friend group that the going saying is, oh, if you ever get in trouble, who's the number you're going to call that's not your parents? Like, you get arrested for something. If you don't want your parents to know, who's the when you're a kid, who's the person you're going to call to bail you out? That's the person that can keep secrets, the person that won't destroy you for making bad decisions, but there to help you out. That's the kind of person that most people turn to when they need help. They don't want to be shamed. They already know that they screwed up. Most people know that are looking for help. They already know they screwed up. So you don't need to berate them and tell them that they already screwed up. They're
What about
actually
the
looking
tough
for
love?
the tough love only works if they're not seeking the help. But if they're seeking the help, why hit a man when he's down or hit a woman when they're down? They already
Yeah, I
hit
mean,
rock bottom. And another thing is you got to know the person too, and that's 90% of it. If the person needs a kick in the ass, then give them the kick of the ass. But if the person just asking for help, they hit rock bottom, they admitted that they need help. Like there's no sense of like kicking someone when they're down.
yeah, there's some keywords that are sort of around this topic, like so understanding, acceptance. I think trust is a particular important one to have here because you're saying like someone you're familiar with, someone that you can come to go to for assistance and open up, be honest about as well. Honesty is going to be very important. But and the trust goes both ways though, because let's say let's say you're the helper and you were going to try a bit of tough love. You need to be able to trust in yourself and in the capabilities of the target, because at what point does tough love just turn into abuse?
That's why I say actions speak louder than words, because in a sense, if you're what the person wants to be, like to talk about what we talked about last week, there's three friend groups. There's the people that hold you back,
Mm-hmm.
the people that are what you are right now, and the people that you want to be in the future. The people that you want to be in the future are your mentors and the people and the people that are supposed to inspire you to do better. If you're in that group of people where, like, say the person's having relationship issues, that's the easiest one to talk about. If they're having a relationship and they want to get married, if you're the best example of getting married, of what a successful marriage is supposed to look like, that's a person I want advice from. I don't want help from a swinger or help from you know a person that just dates around or a player. I want someone, if I really want to get married, I want someone that's been married for a while.
Now this could maybe this would be a topic for another stream. I was going to cover a topic of envy, but
Mhm.
because this idea of emulating or taking examples from people, um is there a risk that a a person who is trying to self-develop, they're trying to change, they're trying to self-develop and grow and things like that. Instead of taking examples from people, they're just trying to copycat them. So
Well,
could they become envious of, say, you with a well, maybe not pristine, but like a good relationship, and they become envious of that instead of learning how to get it for
yes,
themselves.
but the thing is, by you giving them the best example of how to be what they're missing, you're giving them more than just being like, if you want to be shallow and just want to look like pin like an onion, if you want to look at surface level, yes, you're kind of making them a little envious. But if you peel the onion back a little bit, they're going to be like, oh, what kind of skills does it take to, we'll stick with relationships. What skills does it take to be good at it? Good at relationships. Okay, you need to be honest. You need to be communicative. You need to compromise. You need to stick to your morals when they're prudent. You need to, have the same like values, same like, and all the normal things that you would need in a relationship. Now you can say that, and that's basically skin level deep. They're not really good. But if you show them that, hey, I had tough decisions, I had to compromise here, but in other situations I had to stick to my morals, and you can bring those examples up by showing them. Even you're communicating them, you're showing them, it sinks in a lot more. I find out showing people things and telling people things, it's night and day. You have to show them. Talk is cheap,
I think
especially when it's important. Like, if it's like, most people that are asking for help, it's not like win me $1 million. It's normally it's really tough concepts. It's really like, I have a drinking problem. I mean, I don't, but I'm just using an example. Like, I have a drinking problem. Like, that's a tough thing to solve. Now, if you're not going to talk to an alcoholic to get advice about being sober, you're going to talk about the person that's sober, that's completed an AA and has that 20-year chip. You're going to talk to that person well over someone that's an alcoholic. So why would I want to ask for advice from an alcoholic if I'm trying to not be an alcoholic? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I think built in like a tone into what you were saying there was kind of like to inspire and to motivate rather than to cause envy and maybe negative feelings towards change, like, or being kind of like forced, even though it's for their own good. They know they have to quit or something like that, but they're annoyed because they're antagonistic to be having to be told, and like they feel like they've been dictated to or something like that. And it's like, we're not trying to bully you into changing. We're trying to give you the motivation so that you do it out of you, so that you make the choice, because then it'll be that much more you own it then, rather than
and that becomes the problem of communication, because envy, the way you solve envy is through communication. If you see someone that's envious, how you solve that is inspiration, knowledge, and communication. Like, if I really want, say, your wealthy friend and you're not doing so hot money wise, well, asking for money is one thing, but if the person goes, look, how do I be better at money? I can tell them, okay, make a budget, do spend within your means, save 10% of your paycheck into savings. I could tell them all this, but then I could show them my path, how I do it, and put it on a scale that they can understand and they can process. That's what they need. And how I'm doing that is through communicate, and I'm taking the envious away and giving them a game plan. I'm killing the end. Most of the time, lack of communication is the reason why someone's envious.
So, because how can I actually take it? It almost sounds like it's much better to walk beside a person to show them the path and how to do things. Not necessarily have to hold their hand, but I mean, stand beside rather than behind them with a stick and trying to poke them along.
No, you got to hold them by the hand. No.
Right.
See, people have this wrong. I don't know, so many people have this wrong. You cannot just go and say, do this. I'm better than you, do this. That comes off as condescending. It comes out as inaffectionate. It comes off as, um, you know, elitist. It comes out all these negative things. Even though you're trying to be good-willed, it's all going to be lost because you're coming off as kind of being a dick in the situation. You need to hold their hand. That's what they're asking for. They're asking for help. Anytime, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a little kid. Like when you're
That I was just
teaching
about
a
to say a
little,
little kid, yeah.
yeah, if you're teaching you're teaching someone a new skill. Do you go and give them, level 50? Like, say you're playing a video game for the first time. Are you going to start them off from level 50? You're going to tell them what level 1 and teach them how the game's played. That's
But
what you do.
here's the problem. Okay, so we understand that, and this idea of in the beginning, like baby steps and all this sort of stuff, people who are trying to develop and grow. Yeah, they technically they are coming from I don't want to sound derogatory, but like a lower down position. So they do need someone to kind of show them how it's done. But it's easy when we put it when we conceptualize it as like a parent holding the hand of a child. Now, but when we have technically grown people who resent the idea of being treated like children, even though they're acting very childish, how do you metaphorically hold their hand without making them feel like children?
Easy. Okay, Billy, I don't mean to hurt you if you don't have this, but are your parents still around?
I have my mum. She's
Okay.
still around. My dad's dead.
Okay, sorry about your dad.
That's all right. It was like 20 years ago.
When your mom wants to teach you something, even though you're an old man at this point, we both are you still not going to take the advice from your mother? You're always going to be your mother's always going to view. I'm just saying your mother's always going to view you as a kid, and when she wants to give advice to you, she's going to do it. Doesn't matter
right, that
if
kind
you're.
of thing. Yeah,
It doesn't matter if you're 10.
That's actually kind of abusive, though.
No, but I'm getting to a point here. Just because you are 40 or 40 plus, we'll just say that. Does that mean she can't offer you advice? Now, the way she offers the advice, that's the key thing. That's what I'm saying. Communication's so important here. It's the way you offer the advice. You don't treat them like a child, and you show them their education level. Like if you don't know how to, just use math for example. If you don't know how to add and subtract, I'm not going to teach you, trigonometry. I got to know what you know and build you up from there. Military is great at this. Military, they literally tear you down to your basics and build you back up. There's a reason why they don't assume anything. They go in and say, hey, if you only teach you electronics, what do they do the first day? What's addition, subtraction? Then we'll do multiplication, division, and then we'll get into, logarithm. We'll go through, elementary math, and by the time you're done the day, you're going to be at college level. But they don't assume you know anything, and they start you from ground level and build you up. So if you already are on step 50 of step of 68, okay, I don't have to go through the math part. I just go for what you need. And that's the thing, is you need to diagnose what the problem is and figure out what they know and then go from there.
No.
Without being condescending. Condescending can be basically, I'm treating you like a kid. Like, no one wants to be treated like a kid. But if I know that like you're screwing up this step, I might have to like shame you. I don't want to shame you, but that might be one of the tools in my belt. It might just be, maybe you got to look at it a different way. Instead of like explaining the same thing 4 or 5 times the same way, try a different approach. Maybe you got to use hyperbole. Maybe you got to use.
There's a little bit of discernment involved.
Yeah.
So in a way, the mentor has to have certain skill sets if they're going to be effective.
Oh, 100%.
Like they need to be able to discern, and if they're going to have some understanding for the other person, they're going to have empathy as well.
Oh yeah, you can't. I mean, and the scary thing is, true empathy is wanting nothing in return. Okay. If someone is doing, especially a mentor situation, because another way you're looking at a mentor is a boss versus employee, or leader versus subordinate, or um, leader versus subject, whatever you want. All those situations, what does the person need? The person the person needs sacrifice. When you're a leader or a mentor, it it's always sacrifice, and it's always giving oneself. Like, what's a good leader? Don't don't just tell me what to do. Be in the trenches with me. Treat me with respect.
You're making me think of Optimus Prime.
Yeah, like really, people need to look up what true leaders are. Not this
Yeah.
bullshit. I have worked for you. You do what I say. No, that's an authoritarian. That's not a leader. A
Right.
true
And
leader is in the trenches with you, or you put in 8 hours, they're putting 10 hours, they're helping you out, and they're showing through leadership. Like I said, leadership is sacrifice. Being in charge of somebody is sacrifice. You're giving your one self. That's what empathy is. Putting yourselves in your shoes, and then serving that person.
so, because you mentioned authoritarian,
Hmm.
just as a kind of quick, we don't have to go into it too much, but like, so it would appear as though the more authoritarian types, who perhaps, I'm not saying they all lack empathy or something like that, but if they're lacking empathy, they're lacking discernment, they're more inclined to probably try the tough love approach, because it's almost like it's like they haven't got much tools available to them. So tough love is kind of like the hammer approach.
Yeah,
Everything looks like a nail, just hammer it into compliance.
but I also mean this with no disrespect, but this is very important. When you're helping somebody, they're very vulnerable. Okay, I'm saying uber vulnerable. They're telling you their
Well,
personal secrets and everything. You have certain people that like will view this as, I get to steal candy from a baby. Okay,
yeah.
that's the
Oh, okay.
mentality.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
So
the sort of taking advantage, predatory stuff. Yeah, big
yes,
time. But
those
I don't know if we're gonna be able to explore that in this stream.
no, I'll cut this real short. You get those people are the people that you avoid. That's why I'm saying when you are the mentoree or the person asking for help, you have more vested interest in telling this information to someone that you really trust. And this is the problem which bites a lot of people. They ask for advice from the wrong person, and the wrong person uses that against them. We've all met that person in our lives where we told them a secret, and they used it against us, or they betrayed our trust, um or they used the information that we told them to make fun of them, and those people are garbage human beings. However, the very few people in your life that you physically trust on 100, like, if you need a call at 12 o'clock, your car breaks down, you call that person, that's your person. That's the people I'm talking about. You as a person asking for help, you need to actually think about this before you actually need help. Who are the people that I can come to for help? Because that list is not going to be that very big. It's going to be very small. It's going to be down to like maybe 3 people in your life that you physically can trust to ask for help. Everybody else, you're not asking for help. They might come to you and say, "Hey, how can I help you, man?" You need to be smart enough and say, "I got this. Someone else is
Yeah.
helping me out." Because the more people you tell and to get in your inner circle, the more chances someone's going to exploit you. Now, I don't want that to happen. So you need to only do this stuff with people that you trust, because
Not
they have
just
a vested interest in helping you out.
not just be exploited, but you could have someone who, for all intents and purposes, they mean well, but they give you a bit shoddy advice. They're not very experienced or something like that. So
Yeah,
they
see
can do
that.
more harm than good. But that point about the vulnerability is an important one, because before even getting assistance, they're in a position of vulnerable, well, unaware probably how
Mhm.
vulnerable they really are, but to then realize it and in a way submit to someone's authority, to put their life in someone else's hands for guidance, show me the way, is an
Mhm.
extra layer of extreme vulnerability. It's like
Yeah.
helpless, you're at the
Well,
mercy.
it's worse than that, because you're also telling them your deepest, darkest secrets that if the person doesn't have your best interest at mind, or is going to exploit you. And
Yeah.
that's the crux of the whole problem here. People have been burned. They don't feel that they can turn to anybody for advice. So what do? They hire a psychologist. Now, does that person have the best interest for you? Maybe, maybe not. You're paying them. So if you think about this, do they really want to solve your issue? Because they keep getting paid. They want to stretch that out for more and more sessions because they want more money out of you. I mean, why else would they when they do that? So you got to.
Well,
The other thing
yes
I'm
and no.
getting at with this is you need to find someone that your best interest lines with their best interests.
But this is
Okay.
also we're basing what we're discussing here on a few factors. One being that the person who wants help is actually being open and totally honest.
Okay.
Because if they're going to be telling you secrets and making themselves exposed and telling you their problems and crying on your shoulder and all this, this kind of model we're describing here, yeah, it kind of works if they're being honest. But if they're being dishonest and they're not quite telling you what their problem is really, again, this kind of goes back to the teacher or whatever with a little bit of maybe experience and discernment to be able to sniff out that, okay, this person is very embarrassed perhaps, and they're not telling me the full pit. Like, they might know enough to be like, yeah, I can see where you need help and I can still help you, but I know that you're still you're trying to cover up maybe some of your accountability in some of this, or you're not giving me a totally 100% honest picture.
Yep, that makes sense. And
I mean, I'm not sure how much this. I guess this is like a case by case
yeah, but
situation.
I'm trying to paint this with large brush strokes, if
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
And I'm trying to answer the first thing that you're saying. How then do we identify and help people who want to escape the drama? Well, sometimes it's best to know what people you shouldn't be telling this to help you figure out what to tell certain people to. So you want to make sure that your goals line up with their goals. Like if you wouldn't tell your enemy your dark secret so they can use it against you, or you wouldn't tell someone that keeps trying to get money out of you while offering advice, because there's no incentive to get you the help that you need. So you have to identify, is this person going to actually give me the help that I need? And do I feel safe telling them, very important or closely guarded secrets so I can actually get the help that I need? And the last part is there's no shame with not knowing. If someone comes to you and be like, I feel suicidal, okay, self-deleted. If I feel like I want to self-delete, okay, I might be able to talk them down from the ledge, but I can't give them the help that they need. So what I need to do is I have to understand I'm way over my head on this one, but I need to give that person advice. So I need to walk them off the ledge, and I need to do some research and get them the best psychologist that I can possibly give them so they can get the help they need. So it's not just because you might not have the skills or the knowledge to help somebody doesn't mean you still can't get them the help that they need. And I want to stress
like
that.
you're useless. Yeah. That was going to be an example I was going to throw in there as like giving someone bad advice, because not what you're saying, but this idea of someone suicidal, and then you turn to them and say, "Oh, but you got so much to look forward to, live for." You know what I mean? Because that's kind of like,
Yeah,
they're on the they're on the brink or whatever, and then you're telling them that, oh great, whoopee. You mean I got more of this shit to fucking look forward to?
the thing that most people don't realize is, okay, if someone's suicidal, what's the first thing is you take them away from the situation or any weapons that they would use against themselves. After you do that, then you need to identify what's making them suicidal. Was it a bad day, a breakup? Was it, a series of events that got them there? What got that person there? Okay, now we identify what got them there. Now I have the ability to go, okay, do I really need to call the cops? Do I got to get this person 302'd? You know what that is?
No, what
302
is
in the
302?
state, basically getting them a 72-hour hold where they go to, you basically admit them to a hospital, and then they get mandated psychiatric treatment for 72 hours. It's a 302. Okay. So that basically
suicide watch.
they're not in the right state of mind, and you take them to a hospital so they can get the treatment. Now, while that person's
Yeah.
getting their help, you're doing the back end stuff. You're doing the, okay, what's their insurance? Okay, the insurance is United Healthcare. Okay, I'm gonna look up United Healthcare. I'm gonna figure out a psychologist that's in the area.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a list of people
So
that they
you might not have the magic answers for them, but doesn't mean you're useless and you can't still help them. You know, you can
exactly, and that's what I'm.
you're not gonna like walk them off the edge and go like, look, my man, you need to go do it yourself and go get some help. It's like, no, I'll do that for you because obviously you're in a very sensitive situation right now, and I'll try and make your life a little bit easier.
Yes, and another thing that comes down to, especially if you're the person trying to offer help, and I hate to, this is a tough one for a lot of scenarios because they might not want the help. You need to, one, identify, do they need the help, and two, are they going to listen to what you're going to say?
Yes. So
and that's coming to the second part of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Like,
So,
how much of this is it our own selfish ambition or whatever to like,
well,
are we
being
to
selfish
impose
isn't
change on people who might not actually want change?
being selfish in not every scenario is not a bad thing. If you want your friend to live, that's being kind of selfish. That's that selfish drive that I want this person to live. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure this person lives. That's selfish. Now, is it a bad selfish? No, but it's still being selfish. You want him to live. He wants to self-delete. You're being selfish here. Now, is it a bad thing? No. But I'm just saying, just because it might be deemed as a negative trait, sometimes it's not. Just like life's not as simple as cut and dry. So as long as your self-interest and their self-interest align, it's good. It's when they don't align is a problem. If your selfishness gets in the way of their help, there's an issue. But if your selfish way is motivating you and motivating them to get the help that they need, then you're aligned and you're supposed to go.
So I think a key word there, that's a good point you're bringing up about selfishness, but with aligning the needs and wants, in a way, it's like holding their hand, but with a buzzword applied, it's kind of like it's like teamwork.
Okay.
So they're not alone trying to make changes, but at the same time, it's teamwork. They need to like participate. You can't do everything for them. You can't make decisions for them. You can't live their life for them.
Correct.
So
that's like, I mean, technically that's toxic parenthood, or you can call it toxic femininity.
Vicarious.
Where parents live vicariously through their kids.
Yeah.
They need to grow on their own. Otherwise, they're going to be horrible people. They need to grow on their own merits. So just like anything, even positive traits can be negative if it's going to the extreme. Like helicopter parents do not prepare their kids for life. That's toxic.
Yeah.
So even good things can be negative.
Oh yeah, like I try and preach that a little bit. You know, positive pros can turn into cons, and cons can be pros. It all depends how you want to look at things.
Correct.
It's
more of an alignment issue. It's an alignment thing. Is the kid's best interest and your best and what your best interest, are they aligned? If anytime when your interests align, and it's a positive trait. If anything, your positive attitude or positive knowledge or positive way you want to shape this person aligns with them and what they want, all good things can happen. But
it's good that you say it, because it's almost like a no-brainer, but I don't think it crosses people's minds unless it's actually
not a no-brainer, because a lot of people go and it's like, I really want this person to change.
Yeah, but that's one-sided, isn't it?
And then they go, why isn't this person changing? I see what they want. It's right there freaking in front of them. I'm getting pissed. I tell them time and time again, do X, and they keep doing freaking Y, and I'm getting pissed. The problem technically is you. You want them to change. They do not want to change.
Yeah.
And your alignment is not aligned to what they want.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You need your approach. You need to figure out. You need to do a lot of self actualization, self-realizing, figure out what the problem is, and get aligned with their best interest. It's all about. I'm not trying to sound all hippy dippy here, but it's all about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's good that it's been said, and it's like a bit like a no-brainer, because like if you're aligned, then you can work together. But obviously, if you're not aligned, you're not going to be working together. You're going to be fighting one another.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's how friendships normally end, and that's a downside of mentorship. If the person you're trying to help doesn't really want the help, or you're not aligned, your goals are not aligned, it's potentially going to end friendships. So you got to be careful on this too.
Yeah.
Everything has to be lined up, and you can't miss steps, because most people want, oh, well, here's the end goal, do this, you'll be fine. Well, that doesn't fix the behavior. You got to go and fix the behavior first, then they'll fix the end result. So the thing is, no one wants to put the work in. You can't there's no cheating in this. You gotta, it's painful, it's gonna take months. It's people are gonna fall on their face multiple times, and you gotta be there with your open hand to pick them back up. Even if they come kicking and screaming, you need to go in and pick them back up.
So is it fair to say that, let's say you're the mentor, teacher, parent, or whatever, you might think you got your stuff all together, like there's nothing wrong with you, like a bit of arrogance, a bit of egotistical sort of mindset, but you're kind of guaranteed, if you're going to be helping someone, you will have to change to some degree if you want to help them.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not just the person you're trying to help that you're trying to make them change, but both people. It's like a relationship. You're both having to change. Maybe even the elder, in some ways, more so than the person they're trying to help.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, if this is done right, and that's a big if, I admit that it's a big if, but if it's done right, you will learn more about your freaking self than anything. Like, the rewarding aspect is not that you fixed your friend. That's a great thing. But the other aspect, that you've done something that you've never done before, especially if it's a major change, like the person's an alcoholic, or they want to self-delete, or they want to do stuff like that. That stuff, if you can get that person to fix, you're going to learn more about yourself in this whole process, and your relationship with that person is going to grow so much, because you're going to build up from all of this situational stuff that's happened, and it's going to make you a better person. It's going to prove your character, your resilience, all these other traits that, the only way you can build character is through, something bad happening. This is how you do it, and you won't learn what you're capable of until you do this kind of stuff. So it is needed, but there's a lot of steps involved. Like, not everybody can do this, and I really want everybody to understand, not everybody can be a mentor, or the person that you're asking for help. You might not be the person that they need, and you need to admit that, not feel shame about it, and you need to give them the help that they need. You need to understand, this person needs help. Be humble enough to admit that, I might not be the help that they need, but I'm damn well make sure I'm going to get them the help that they need.
That could be kind of like an ironic sort of twist. It's like the best lesson, the best help that you gave to someone is by not helping them, and then getting them someone who is actually more appropriate. Now, just a quick, like, so to a little for the people in the chat, to save me having to shout out their names because we're in the middle of a conversation, I might just, for example, just display a random comment of yours, and if you see a random comment, that's basically saying hi. Okay. Giving people a shout out. But yeah, and so in this, we're growing this idea of trying to help people get through to people, and we're discovering now that there's so much more of a relationship dynamic that's crucial for this to take place. And I just want to throw this in a little bit, because I think maybe it's not recognized until the aftermath, because crisis and adversary can, because people are in it together, can help bring them closer together.
Yes, but it also can do the opposite too.
Yes, exactly.
So
yes,
just like everything, life is risk. Okay, and like I said, you're going to learn different skills that you need. Can you identify risk? Can you be a good feedback loop? Can you understand if this is over your head? Can you do you have the temperament for someone to fall on their face multiple times and keep bringing them back up? Do you have the patience? Do you have the stamina of dealing with this person day in, day out? Are you okay being sleep deprived if this person calls you at 3 o'clock in the morning and asking for help? Like, there's so many things that go into this, and not everybody can do it, but the people that can do it, and you have that person, if you can do this correctly, it's probably one of the most rewarding things you possibly can do for somebody. Like,
Yes.
it's beyond rewarding. Like,
we'll try and save the. I don't want to make it sound like this is a negative, like really bad, but you know, like the burden, like the burden, the required, like the taxation, the expenditure, the commitment, the endurance. You know, this takes a toll. So, at what point would like, sorry, kind of thing, enough's enough? Like, I'm now. Yes, we're talking about sacrificing is a particular aspect, but at what point are you sacrificing way too much, you know,
well,
to your own detriment?
the
But
thing,
we'll kind of shift that to the later half of the stream, if that's all right.
that's fine. That's fine.
I made some little, jotted down some small questions.
Okay.
So maybe we can throw a couple of those in here. I think it might be a good time. So this idea of kind of like getting through, like cracking the shell, like how do we flip that switch inside the other person's head? And this is kind of like a personal question, because you know, the amount of times I try and, like, my channel is trying to encourage a bit of self-reflection or a bit of contemplation, and half the time I feel like none of it is really getting through. So how do we enlighten people? How do we
I think the best way to do this is through, like, I mean, it sounds a little corny, but as a role play. I think that's the best way of doing this. So give me example of something that in your life that you want to improve. It doesn't have to be super personal. Just be generic.
Well, I can give you a quick, easy, off the top, like a kind of classic example.
That's fine.
Of like we will talk about relationships using that as an analogy. So you've got like a blue pillar that they believe they're in love, right?
Okay.
How do you wake up the blue pillar, who you can see that they're not really, they're a codependent, it's not love, they're addicted, and it's toxic, and their partner is abusing them, but in their kind of fantasy delusional love state, they can't see it. They can't see what they look at you as if you're envious of them or something like that. So how
Okay.
do you wake up the blue pillar, who really is in a kind of dangerous situation?
Okay. First question I would ask is, this is going to sound weird. Should you wake the person up?
Yes.
Because
that is a good question. That does come up. Yes.
Anytime you deal with someone that goes through an existential crisis, and I want to explain this to you and the chat, it's so important. Anytime you tell someone to go through an existential crisis, they have the possibility of hitting rock bottom and self-deletion. Okay? So never take existential crisis for granted. Okay? If you're forcing them to change the whole way they work, they look at the world, that's an existential crisis. They could hit rock bottom. So you need to, you know, go very delicately on this. Most of the time, it's the way I would handle it would be evidence. So what is this person doing to you? And then maybe they just don't see it. So anytime this woman goes over and does something ridiculous, just give them a nudge. Like, oh, see, this is what we talked about. Nudge, nudge. Or, you know, because they have to realize this in the moment it's happening.
Maybe that kind of example was a bit unfair of me, because it is quite a big subject matter in the narcissist conversations. It also extends to like what we call the secondary supply. So a common question asked is, should you warn the new supply, the new boyfriend? Should you go warn them? And the general answer is like what you're saying, like if their abuser is their form of life support, you know, and you're gonna disconnect them from that, in some ways that's even more cruel than leaving them with their abuser.
Yeah. So
Uh,
how about we use this? This is an easier example. Say you're horrifically awful at getting somewhere on time. Like you habitually leave, like you need to be somewhere at 6 o'clock and you leave at 5:59 and it's 20
yeah,
minutes away. Okay. You are such bad time management, you can't even help it. Okay. We'll use that as an example. So the
okay,
first thing you have to do to me is you need to demonstrate that you finally understand that this is a problem. And how do I get there? Well, first off, I'd be shaming the living crap out of you. Like you're a freaking grown ass adult. When someone tells you to be somewhere, you're going to be there. And it's not just this. Look at the problems you're causing. We can't leave on time. We're missing out on all this stuff. You're late to dinner. You're late to all this crap. We're done. We're sick of it. This is you. When we tell you to be somewhere, you're going to be somewhere. So there's tough love. Or you can go in as like, look, you can go in as the good cop. Man, it's it's really we really like to do things with you, but I mean, if you keep being late to things, we're gonna have to cut you out. Like we can't have you being late and we're late to all these sporting events because we're waiting on you because we can't give you the ticket and stuff like that. You're like, you're really causing problems here. And there's the empathetic approach. Or you can go it as, you know, we're seeing this as a problem. You have like one of those like group circles where you get all your friends together. Like, look, we need to have an intervention here. You're late and it's causing problems. It's causing problems with me. It's causing problems with this person C, person D, and then the person realizes they have an issue. So that the first
yeah,
thing is, does this person realize that they're causing problems? Because half the time they don't. So
yeah.
that's the first step.
That awareness part, yeah, is a real kind of bitch, really. And I mean, this is what I was saying. Like, if I was going to use the narcissistic kind of studies, this is where it would go off into a completely different topic. But depending on their kind of uh, emotional IQ and stability, I mean, you could be looking at layers of denial, avoidance, um,
Yeah,
biases, and things like that.
but
So
you
even
can't
though
help
you
a person.
show them,
You can't. They don't want the help. You can't.
yeah,
You can only what you. I have to state this so many times. This is not just you. I'm just saying. You cannot help someone that does not want help. And the first aspect of knowing that you have a problem is admitting you have a problem. I know it
yeah,
sounds
yeah. No,
reductive.
these are like crucial milestone kind of steps. It's like,
Yes.
how are you going to fix something if you don't even know what's wrong,
When it's not even know what
or even
you have
want
to
to
want.
even know care about knowing what's wrong?
No, you have to. It's beyond that. You need to want to change. You can admit that you have a problem, but I don't want to change. You know what I mean? And then we have to react to that information. But a person that truly wants help needs two things. They need to admit that they have a problem and they have to admit that they want to fix it.
Yeah,
Those are the
I
two
mean,
things. You
because
don't have those two
obviously
things, you can't help somebody.
there are parts to this conversation that we're just going to have to like omit. Like, if you've got someone who can recognize they've got issues and problems, but they don't want to change, maybe to them they're identifying with their pain, their misery, their suffering. They got basically a victimhood mindset. And so if you're trying to fix them and cure them or give them the solutions, in a way you're stripping them of their victim identity so they can reject it for that reason. But
Well,
just
that's easy to fix because if they're in a sense of pain, you need to treat them like a child. In a sense, you need to go and say, "Look, you're hurting. I understand you're hurting. It's what I'm asking for you is a lot, but at the end of the tunnel, you're going to thank me for this. Now, do you trust me?"
no, but there's like, they've looked into it, like identifying with their pain because they've attached meaning to it. It's almost
Well,
like
that's getting
their
it. That's
pain is their own best friend.
that, and I'm going to use that. We're going to stick with the same scenario. You're always late, and the reason why you feel late is because the only reason why you feel late, and you like that, and you like that energy rush of being like frantic. Like you get
Right.
basically you get a high from being in a stressful environment. And I go into and I need to go and treat you like a child and say like, look, you're asking you're asking for a high that you keep failing on. So until you prove that you can do this, you're screwing things up. Now there's
Yeah,
two
we're not
ways
we're
you
not
can do this. I could show you better ways of time management, which would be the smart thing to do. And then two, you need to be ridiculed every single time you're late. You need to feel the shame. And
yeah.
not just the shame, but your actions have repercussions, because if the person goes in, and this is a tell for the person giving advice too, if the person goes in and they're late and they try to get there on time and they're 2 minutes late, no, I'm not going to roast them. But if you say to be there at 6 and you're there at 7, I'm roasting the living Jesus out of you. Okay.
Well,
If they
yeah.
go in and say, you know what, I don't care, you guys should worship my time, screw being on time, you know where you stand at this point. You have the
I was just
decision to
about
make.
to say that this, because again, like you're gonna have to like tell me off this, because I keep trying to like take it off into like narcissistic territory. But if you got a narcissist, they enjoy being late, because it's like, you guys gotta wait for me to arrive. You
And
know,
that's what
you
I was.
can't do anything until I get here. So they turn up and they're unapologetic about being late. You know, if anything, they got a grin and a smirk on their face.
Well, then guess what you just found out?
Yeah.
You just found out that your friend's a narcissist, and you have a decision to make.
Yeah.
You can
And
either
also, like you're saying, that
enable the
they're not
behavior.
in alignment either.
You can either enable the behavior and deal with it, or you can cut them out. You have to make the choice. That's on you. And that's the thing, is sometimes you need to realize that the best approach is walking away.
Yeah, but that's coming back to that sort of idea of like, it's not them that needs to change at that point, it's you need to change.
Yes. But if we're going to stick back to the being late, and just to go through a scenario, if you're habitually late, and you want to change that, and you don't know how, well, I can do the school approach and make a board and say, every time you're late, we're going to track how many times you're going to be on time or not. And if you're not, there's going to be repercussions. And there's going to be positive things if you do things. Because people, I hate to admit it, people are animals. The only way people get trained, if you want to change behavior, you got to treat them just like you're going to train a dog. You reward good behavior and you reprimand bad behavior. Okay. Anybody that says we're above animals is bullshit. We are animals. It takes 90 days of doing the same exact thing to change something from a habit and make it permanent. It takes 90 days to do it.
It's easy to prove. Look, check this out. Right, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do a magic trick. Right.
Okay.
Everyone here in attendance, leaving comments and all that, you all get a nice chocolate chip cookie.
Yep.
Right. Don't they all feel? Type of 1 if you feel better for getting a chocolate chip cookie, even though it's a virtual one. You get a little reward for being here, listening to our conversation.
Yeah. So that you have to start with first. You need to reward the good behavior and discipline the bad behavior, which would be shame and ridicule. And rewarding the positive behavior is you thank them. Man, I appreciate you so much for being on time. Like, it doesn't take a lot. You just have to understand, like, the little things matter. If you go in and reward the good behavior and discipline the bad behavior, over time, they're going to fall apart. Now, you need to be stern in your behavior and tell them, if you're over 5 minutes late and you don't let us know, like some extraordinary situation happens, we're going to be pissed. But if you go in and say, I blew a tire and I'm going to be late, I'm not going to go in and shame that person too for being late when they did everything in their power to let us know. So you have to be accommodating too, and that's my point.
Yeah, and that shows a level of
so rigid that it's 6:06. You're more than 5 minutes late. You're going to get ridiculed. Well, they might first couple of times, but you're going to get diminishing rate of returns if you keep doing it every single time. But if go ahead.
It also kind of illustrates that it's not like you're running I don't know if militia is the right word, or a boot camp. Like, you can have tolerances and exceptions, like a flat tire. But what matters is the accountability and the responsibility of, like, hey guys, I screwed up. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a blown tire, but I'm letting you know, instead of so that I'm kind of like apologizing and giving an explanation instead of just saying like, "Yeah, I'm late. Deal with it."
And that's my whole point. You have to be flexible, like within
Yeah,
reason.
flexible as well. Yeah.
You can't be rigid because nothing's going to work. And then some people actually need a game plan. Some people feel like, you know, I'm gonna I keep leaving and I don't give myself enough time. So then you have to start saying, okay, when you're leaving somewhere, I want you to put an alarm clock. When it's this time, no matter where you're at, you're out of here. So if you're halfway done your beard, you're going to look like an idiot, but you're going to have half your beard done because you're going to go outside and go. And you need to shame that person and say, look, you didn't give yourself time. We need to work on your time management skills. And that's when you have to, some people need to map out their calendars better. Some people, they just need to understand more clock management. Maybe they need to have like a Fitbit or something on their wrist that, shocks them every 30 minutes. So
Oh,
it lets them know, like vibrates. I'm not saying like,
yeah,
but I'm saying
start fitting collars onto people.
there's different approaches. And the thing is, you got to treat approaches like a shotgun. You give them the shotgun approach. You need to try 50 different things and hopefully one or two of them work. And when you figure out those one or two things that works, then that's the game plan.
So what do you think about? So what do you think about the idea then of radical acceptance?
It depends on the person. And radical acceptance, if the person has low self-esteem, that might be a good tool to get them high self-esteem. Okay. So, you did good. I'm bringing your self-esteem up. So that in that attitude, it might work. And other times it might be detrimental. And that's the thing. You need to know the person, just like last time we talked. You need to know, this is why you need to do it with people that you're close with, because what pushes their buttons, what motivates them and stuff like that. That's why
Okay.
you can't do. That's why I'm not a really big fan of the self-help people, because all they're doing is giving you general knowledge, and they don't give you tailor-made plans based on the person, because they don't know you well enough. How am I going to help? Like, what Billy, the way I can help Billy might be completely different than helping out. I'm just pulling a random person from the chat. MGTOW Outlaw. Okay. Those two people are completely different people. Billy might be immune to shame, and MGTOW Outlaw might be, I do a little shame and he goes off on me. Okay. And then that might motivate him. So I might have to do two completely different ways of dealing with the situation, just because that's what motivates them. So that's what I'm saying. You need to know the person.
It comes back to the sort of like what tools do you have available, your capabilities with those, like your skill with those tools, and the right tool for the job, discernment. Now, do you see the comment on the screen from Angler about shame?
Yeah.
You disagree? Shame isn't an option.
Shame is a tool. It's a tool in it's a tool in your we'll call it your self-help tool belt. Okay. It's not going to work for everybody. It works for a lot of people. And I'm saying, I'm speaking in general terms, because I don't know what works for your friends, but
I mean,
some people, general acceptance works. Sometimes shame works. Sometimes, building up confidence works. Sometimes a game plan works. Sometimes you just need to hold their hand. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. The best way to help someone is sometimes the shotgun approach. We're going to try everything and see what sticks.
I would say that if you've got other methods and tools available, to use those preferably. And I mean, shame, like you say, is a tool, but I think it has negative repercussion, because if you're shaming someone in a way, you're making them feel bad. In a sense, you're kind of like trying to you're lowering their self-esteem in order them to get them to.
Do they deserve the shame? I'm not saying you're going to shame someone they do something right. That's awful. But if the person relapses, do you think the worst thing I could say is, oh, it's okay that you relapsed? No, it's not okay.
Okay.
They need to understand that, no, it's not okay. I need to call you out for shame and accountability are hand in hand. You cannot reward bad behavior. That is so against what you're trying to solve. So if someone relapses or does something bad, you need to call them out on it. And that's shame. Accountability and shame are the exact same thing. But am I going to shame good behavior? No, I'm not a monster. Like
Is
it's hard.
there room for a bit of understanding in there, so that you can like take some of
That's
the
what I'm
brunt
saying.
off the shame?
Knowing somebody like that. That's why I said before, if you're 5 minutes late, I'm not going to rip you a new one. That's why I use that example.
Right.
If you're 5 minutes late, that's acceptable. Am I going to say, yeah, you're late, but it's okay? Yes. But if you're an hour late, like I said before, yeah, you're getting shamed because that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're an hour late and, oh, man, it's okay. You can be an hour late. No, I'm not going to put up with that. And you shouldn't put up with that either. And that's my whole point. That's why I said discernment matters. Like, you're not going to shame somebody if they're a little bit off, and they're trying. And it's the whole thing about it's an effort thing too. The person's, trying to get help and they relapse, okay, that's one thing. But if they just go up and relapse and throw it in your face, are you going to be like, nah, it's okay? No, you're going to do everything in your power to put them back on the right course. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
You mentioned relapse, and the reason why I was like, "Oh, relapse," is because I've actually got that as one of my sort of smaller questions to ask you here.
Okay.
And it connects to this idea of addiction, so it broadens it up to like, it's one thing to have a relapse and an oopsie or whatever, a bad day.
Yeah.
What do they call it in weightlifting? A cheat day or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But if they've got like an addiction to the drama or an addiction to the environment that they're in, which is causing them to relapse, maybe this is going off into a different topic about addiction altogether, but because it's one thing to try and encourage, to motivate, to inspire and all this, but if they've got an addiction, and depending on what that kind of addiction is, is it like a losing battle here? Are you fighting more than just a person's?
You got to use more extremes. So
more extremes, okay.
And more extremes, okay. If you're addicted to heroin, okay, we're just using an example. You're addicted to heroin. Okay, what makes you addicted to a heroin? You have to, as an addict, you need to get the heroin. So if you want help, guess what? You're no longer living in this state. You're going to another state and rebuilding your life. You can never come back to the state again. Now, is that going to suck for am I going to lose a friend out of this? Possibly. But for them to get the help that they need to be completely taken out of that situation. They need to, no more drug addicts, no more dealers. If you're gonna have to find another dealer, you're gonna have to start from scratch, which is gonna be a lot tougher. So you have to understand that maybe the environment is the problem.
What if that addiction isn't like heroin, but is what they call their friends?
There you go. Then if the friends are an issue, you need to either kick out the friends or you need to move. And I'm not saying it's going to fix the issue, but you're giving them the best chance to fix the issue. And to answer Angler's question, yes, that's how my friend did fix his addiction issue. He went from my state to halfway across the country so he can get himself better. And now he's doing fine. But he had a couple years where it was rough for him. And he had to start a brand new life from scratch. And that was the only way to help out his addiction, was he got out of the situation. So the environment was the problem. Like I said, identifying the problem is 90% of the work. The problem was the environment. So we got him out of the environment, and the problem fixed itself.
Okay, just a quick Angler. I appreciate the conversation and the contributions and questions and things like that. Great points and stuff like that, and good to bring them up. Just like calm down a little bit. Like Bandit's trying to help. Okay, so
I'm not a recovering addict. Answer his last question, but I have friends that had issues in the past, and that's how they were solved. I'm not, like I said, it might not work for everybody. I'm just giving you real world examples of how it worked for me. Like I
these
said,
are kind of like generalizations.
They're generalizations, and I don't know your scenario. I'm just giving you different ways of looking at things. That's my whole point of this. You need to understand the person that you're trying to help and why are they having their problems?
Yeah,
Is it the
like
environment, the friends?
the
Is it their behavior? Is it
sure.
their, it's all these other little things that add up to the big problem. And the other thing is, no little thing should go on. No stone should be left unturned. You need to figure out every little thing, because it could just
It,
be one little
yeah,
thing. One little change could be the thing that can fix it, or maybe they need big change.
this is quite a big area. That, I mean, obviously, like, look, heroin, alcohol, drugs, and friends. These are all different beasts of addictions. So they're going to be dealt with differently, and
Mm-hmm.
they all have their own kind of like things attached to it and considerations. You know,
And
like
addiction's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for everybody. It doesn't, it hurts your friends almost as much as it hurts the user, because you're seeing this person collapse and there's nothing you can do about it. You can do but like I said, they need to change. And if they admit that they need change, they're going to need, when it's something as bad as addiction, you need radical change. You don't need, it's not like I'm changing little things about my life. I need to do a deep dive. What's your headspace at? Why are you using, drugs for a crutch? Are you using drugs because you're physically and mentally dependent on them? Is it easy access? Like, okay, I can talk to my friend, he's a dealer, and I can get the drugs. Like, um is it my friend group that's peer pressure? Is it my self-esteem? I feel like crap, so
yeah.
this makes me feel
Let's
better. Like,
move
I
this into
hear that,
more
what
like
the
we don't.
problem is, and go from there. And
Yeah,
that's what I think. Every
we'll
little
just try
thing.
and keep it on the sort of general idea of like
Yeah.
we've got people who want change, and that, they're on board with the idea, they're aware that they want change, but I'm just saying that what if they've got other things that are preventing it or blocking it? We don't have to get into the nitty gritty or the
Okay.
particulars of the type of addiction or the circumstances that's holding them back. It's just the concept, the idea that they've got either addictions, or maybe they've got not addictions, but like maybe responsibilities or commitments.
Okay,
Like
commitment. That's a
you
that's
know,
a good one.
like they want to change. They want to be more of a family man, but they've got commitment to work, and they can't quit their job in much the same way, like maybe like an addiction because of whatever.
But
So
they
it's
might be able to
preventing
take a
them.
different role. And that's the other thing is, a lot of people, especially couples, it's trade-off. So if I'm going from, say, um a non-salary, an hourly role to a salary role, okay, that might be a big pay jump. However, what am I giving up? Everybody looks at the positives. I'm making more money. I'm in a leadership role. This gives me more advancement. But they never look at the negatives. Okay, I'm salary now, so if I work overtime, that's on me. So that's actually, I need to put in 60 hours a week instead of 40. So I have 20 more hours I got to work for. I'm making more money, but
Yeah.
I got to give 20 more hours of my life to this job.
So
It's
so the
it's
moral of the
affects
story,
my
in a way, like you
it's
can't
my
have it all.
you cannot
You know,
have it all. Everything is trade-offs.
trade
So
off. That means so
so
out with the old, in with the new kind of thing or whatever. Well, not necessarily in with the new, but like, I don't want to say like you're substituting one bad habit for
and
another.
this
But
and this really goes with talking with a spouse, because a lot of your spouse, they see the money aspect is great, but they don't understand the sacrifice in time. You cannot make up time.
yeah.
So if you have little ones around and you're missing, the first time they said a word, or first time they walked, I don't care.
So
I
in
mean,
a way, one of the
speaking
big
for me,
questions.
I don't care about the money at that point. I'm never going to get that. That first will never happen again. I would much rather me seeing my kid first word,
Yes.
first talk, first soccer game, whatever the case may be. That's more important to me than dollars.
Right. That's what I was about to lead into, which is in the process of wanting to make a change, is it safe to say a evaluation of like what matters more to you? Because something's got to be let go of.
Yeah, and I think the best way of going about it is, like, you need to physically show them, and this is where, like, you can have different ways of analyzing data. Okay, like you could do SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You basically make like a plus sign, and then you basically add little categories, and then you can evaluate. Some people use Venn diagrams, what are positive, negatives, and where's something in the middle. so you can physically see what I'm giving up, what I'm getting, and is it worth it? Okay, so you can visually see, because not everybody works with spoken word. Some people need to actually physically see it all laid out before they can make a decision. And like I said, that's knowing the person. So if you look at these different tools that you have at your like I said, tools in your tool belt that you're going to try to, that's another way of doing it. Maybe this person needs to see their options, because at the end of the day, the person that's making the change, they have to make the decision, and they need to live with that decision. So the best thing that you can do to them is give them all the options so they can make an educated decision.
Can I make a stupid joke?
No, go ahead.
So when we ask women, what do you bring to the table?
Mm-hmm.
She brings to the table a Venn diagram.
Well, I mean, honestly, if a girl said to you, I am going to be the person that will be in your corner, and I'm going to lay out all the positive and negatives so you can basically see the scenario, and so you can make a good decision in my life, so you can be the best leader in my life as a woman. I'll be the best. You could be my leader, but I'm going to hold you to it, and I'm going to give you all the information laid out for a scenario so we can talk about it, and then we can make a decision on it. If a girl said that, dude, that is a winner. Because the girl understands two things. She has you in your corner because her best interests and your best interests are shared, which is only going to make you grow in a relationship. And two, she wants you to succeed, because when you succeed, she succeeds. You're aligned.
I'm not sure how I'd feel about my life being presented to me on a spreadsheet. Like, where's the sandwich?
Example, like if a girl goes and is like, I'll be your launching board for you to bounce ideas off of, and I'll give you my analysis so you can make a good decision. That's another way of putting it. That's a solid answer of what you bring to the table.
Yeah, no, it's been, yes, you're being logical and reasonable, and yes, it's all good and good, but I don't know, just being a bit of a pipe.
I know
it sounds a little sterile.
No, but it's
real boring world. Is good.
It's not just boring. It's actually a real world thing. It's not a platitude. You're actually giving them solid things you would do for someone. Like, it's not oh, I'll be your cheerleader. That's a platitude. That's not something you're physically going to do. But if you said, I'm going to be in your corner, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm going to keep you accountable, that's a lot better answer than I'm going to be your cheerleader.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, you want someone with a bit of a brain there that can actually make some sound decisions instead of just woohoo at everything.
Yeah, and that's my whole point. So you had a tongue-in-cheek answer, and I was just trying to give you an answer of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. Let's have a crack at another quick.
Okay.
What if? All right, I'll give you a choice. So, did we already cover how do we humble them?
Oh,
I think humility needs to be.
Okay, if you want to talk about humility, okay, explain humility as the person asking for help, or humility for the person giving advice.
Well, it'll go both ways, wouldn't it? In the end,
I know, but which
sides need to have. I suppose the person who's needing the radical change or the help.
First thing is the only way you're going to show me that you're humble is you need to tell me what your problem is, and that you're willing to do what it takes to make the change. They're
going to swallow their pride a little bit.
Yes, that's the first step, because I can't beat pride. You cannot beat pride. If someone doesn't admit that they have a problem, there's no you cannot move rivers to make them change. It's not worth your time. You're going to get frustrated, and you're going to resent them, and you're going to hate them for it. Okay, there's no point in making the change. But that's why they need to show you, especially since we're not talking about kids here. We're talking about grown adults. Actions speak louder than words. We're not in middle school anymore. You're going to either put up or shut up.
Yeah, and to be humble kind of goes hand in hand with the honesty, but I think importantly, like a bit of bravery and courage.
Yeah, that's what I was
You know,
about to
you're putting yourself in to be humble is very like open and vulnerable, and you
well,
know, putting you out there.
there's another way of looking at it. Being humble is also grace. And I don't know, I'm not trying to get religious on you, but anytime someone offers grace to somebody, normally good things happen. I'm not saying all the time, but normally good things happen when you live in the aspect of grace.
Yes, and sometimes there is great grace in this idea, because a lot of people look at things as winning and losing. So you could be
But
a
that's
very graceful loser.
but the thing is that's so surface level. Like
Well, yeah, because
I
it's like
want
black and
people to,
white, isn't it?
if someone comes to you and asks you for legit help, okay? Legit help. Not like I had a bad day, cheer me up, but like I'm coming to you with a serious problem that I have. You need to first recognize you almost instead of recognize, I'll use a better word. You have a duty. You have a duty to listen to what they say and try to be the best person to help them because they're trusting you. Don't betray someone's trust. That is, I mean, if you the way I look at it, you got one opportunity. You betray my trust, you're done. Especially when it comes to stuff that's very sensitive. You betray your trust, you're done. So show the person that you're asking for help that you deserve the trust. And that's the answer to the second part of your question. If someone's asking for help and you can help them, like I said, not you. Some scenarios you can't help, but the scenarios that you can help, person's asking for help. You got to understand that this is coming from a place that's very hard for them to say to you. They might go, they're admitting that they have an issue. That's tough. That takes courage. They're admitting that they have a problem. That takes courage. They're being very vulnerable with you. That takes courage. Okay, show them that vulnerability was well deserved. Don't be an asshole.
So reward that.
Yeah, like the
Even
first
like
thing.
just a small in small ways means magnitudes to them. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
but
the second
recognize.
part of the question there, where it's like, well, what if they can't admit to being either wrong or saying sorry or being humble because of their pride and their uh, honor or something, you know?
Yeah,
So
but be
what are they very reluctant to that?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's more like it doesn't take much, and you're building trust here. Like if someone's really what I try to do, and maybe I might be weird for saying this, but if someone comes up to me and tells me something personal, like admit right away that you recognize that, because that's how you build confidence and everything else. Well, thank you for telling me this. I know this was hard for you to tell me. I appreciate this, and now we can come with a game plan. Because then they'll open up more. If you want someone to open up, you don't, like I said, you reward good behavior and you discipline bad behavior. You don't just tell them, "Oh, we're going to go with a game plan right away." They don't want that. They want to first recognize that it was tough for them to say that. So let's go through that first. It's tough for them to say it. Appreciate them that they opened up to you.
Okay, maybe
And
this.
then
Okay,
go from
I got like another little sort of pain in the ass kind of point to make.
there.
Maybe it's a bit too nuanced. But what if you're being told something and you don't realize that maybe it was a deep dark secret of theirs and they wanted it confidential, but to you it's kind of like that's no biggie. Well, you know, I don't, and
Well, then
you don't
you have
realize.
a problem. You personally have a problem. If you can't recognize a friend that comes up to you that opens up to you that this might be personal, then you're overshadowing your friends and your friends' ability to ask for help. And that's one thing. If you notice you're not getting you feel like you're the last person to know about stuff, or no one tells you anything personal, it's probably because someone tried to open up into you in the past and you either didn't recognize it, didn't reward them telling you that this information was personal to them, or you just ignored it. So they said, you know what, this person doesn't seem to help me. I'm not going to open up to them. And then you're like, why am I always the last to know about shit? That might be the reason why, because in the past you might have burned somebody, not intentionally, but you burned them. So they decide not to.
Well, I
Go,
asked that because I think sometimes a lot of people in their ways of communication, they sort of they slip in there little cries for help that is not often picked up on.
Well, the thing is, you need to be picking up on. If you're their friend, you have to pick up on them. And,
No, but I mean, it's like it's very well disguised, and it might not even be like in private. It might even be on an open public space where they're just sort of talking, and it's on surface level. It seems kind of maybe not nonchalant, but it's face value. But I mean, this is something that I'm, as like with psychology, I'm trying to train myself more and more to hear the double speak in people's communication, where it's like, what are you really saying here when you tell me that you know
well,
let's say they're peacocking or whatever, and they're macho and they're above 10 and all this. It's like, it sounds really like you've got low confidence and a lack of self-esteem, and you're
well,
compensating.
yes, but the thing comes down to this: you need to, as a friend, you know your friend better than anybody else. You can pick up on, when they're bullshitting you, when they're happy, when they're sad. It doesn't matter if they're showing it. You know their cues. Not everybody has a good poker face. Now, you could be the one in 10 million that's a narcissist that basically can, or psychopath that basically hide their behavior. Okay, I'm not saying those people don't exist, but speaking in general terms, if you see their behavior and it's starting to snowball, like, man, this person keeps opening up about like being shitty with women, and anytime I bring up my girl, he gets upset, and it's like, you need to do, the thing is, you need to do self, feedback. You need to do self, I'm trying to think of a good word for it. You need to do self-realization. You need to look in the past, feedback, and figure out, oh, this person's reaching out, screaming for help. They just don't have the courage to say it.
I mean, it
Right,
puts
based on their past behaviors.
I mean, that kind of thing sort of perks like my spider sense a little bit, because yeah, maybe they're shy and they're a bit awkward about how they're doing it or whatever, but there can sometimes be a little bit of a nefarious reason. I mean, again, this is probably really for a different stream,
But I
where
mean,
the victim is actually like is manipulating someone into the care provider role.
but
So they're telling you about these, that they're pretending, they're being honest about the problems they have, but they don't really want to change it. What they're wanting is you just to be their caretaker.
well, then that's the whole thing. Then you basically have to call their bluff. If we're playing poker, let's play some poker. If they're coming off and they're asking for help, and you say flat out, "Are you asking for help?"
Or
And
are
if they,
you
yeah,
are
call
you
them out.
monkeying me around and
Yeah, call
wasting
them
my
out.
time and
Actions speak louder than words. Okay, call them out, and your friends when they're bullshitting you too. So like, if your friend is just like, anytime your girl's around, like, he completely changes, like his attitude changes. He gets more mean. He gets more vindictive. You need to go out and go, okay, I'm seeing a change in behavior, so I'm gonna pull him aside and be like, dude, what's your case? What's going on? Well, every time, and the thing is, you gotta hold that person accountable. Every time this person's here, your attitude changes. You become a dick. Now, why is that? Call them out. And if
I
they say,
think
you
go ahead.
basically, and the thing is, you don't. It's not the first time you've done this. You did this last week. You did this 2 days ago, doing X thing. You did it 3 weeks ago, Y thing. You did it yesterday, Z thing, and then you keep doing this. So there is something going on here. As a friend, you need to tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
to
the
be
whole thing.
fair,
You need to give them the ability to speak, and then their actions go from there. Then they're gonna say, "I don't, I don't like you. I don't like that girl. She just rubs me the wrong way." Well, okay, we're adults here. Give me more. You know, what I mean, that's a high school answer. I want an adult answer. Why? Well, I don't like the way she treats you. Okay, what you don't like, and then we can have that conversation. And the thing is, most of the time, animosity is basically the root cause of it is lack of communication. Someone feels scared of saying something because they're going to offend someone's feelings, and then that builds resentment. Okay, so most of the problems can be solved just by accountability and communication.
and I think those who are more well put together
Hmm.
are a better not advantage, but are a better position to spot some of this kind of double speak, dishonest communication, this sort of weird stuff that's going on, than the other side. Um, because like in terms of in psychological terms, those who are struggling and
Hmm.
vulnerable, they're fragile and insecure, and they're so wrapped up in their own head that they don't realize just how much. And it is when you've got that kind of um the sunglasses on from They Live, they're telegraphing so much. It's almost like, I can't believe I didn't see that sooner. The signs were all there. um but I think at the same time, evolutionary speaking, people have got better at masking and being a bit deceitful, unfortunately. So it comes back to discerning,
But
um
it
being
still
able to
comes down
filter
to
and
it,
process.
it becomes down to two things really, and they can never fix this. Recognizing habitual behavior change. So I don't care what you are, even if you're a good hider, you're gonna leave little tells all the time, and you need to recognize the change in behavior. And then two, I need to call you out on it. Those are the two things. Now, is it harder to do? Absolutely, but there's always going to be something that triggers you. You're gonna be like, you're acting weird. Like you're not acting this way. Something's going to trigger you. Like like you said, your spider sense is going to go off, and then you gotta like really think about what when they were doing this behavior in the past. What was the scenario? How did this go down? And then you start putting the pieces together, and then you start holding the person accountable. When
So,
you'll get an answer, yes, good or bad. If you hold someone accountable, you'll find out their true character, what they feel.
mm,
It might not be
yeah.
the answer you want, but you'll know.
And there's a part of that skill set is being able to see these patterns as well.
Yes, patterns is everything, and to be honest with you, that's one of the good traits about being a man is you recognize patterns better than women.
And well, this is a lot of what psychology is like. Human behavior is patterns of behavior.
Yes,
So as much as we humans like to think that we're unpredictable and we're in control of our own destiny and all this, unfortunately we're actually very predictable.
yes.
We're not as
But the good thing, predictability. Everybody thinks predictability is a bad thing. Predictability is a great thing. Because
yeah.
what does predictability mean? It means you can set expectations, you can identify good and bad behavior, you can identify a problem to be fixed. If we were not predictable, if we were completely like taking like a D20 dice and every reaction is basically a toss of the dice and we'll see how we're going to react,
I
nothing
made
would get done. There would be
yeah,
so much deceit going on. It would be
well,
it would be a cluster. The
as a
fact
little tangent,
part would
like
take
I made a post, this is ages ago in my community, about those people who say that they're unpredictable, or they give this idea that you don't know me, you can't second guess what I'm about to do, as if like uh you can't control me because you can't predict what I'm. It's like, if you truly are unpredictable, you'd be insane. You're
well, it
erratic,
depends.
you're unpredictable.
Yeah,
So
you're unpredictable. Like as a friend, maybe not as a partner, but as a friend, you want to be predictable. I would rather have someone that's reliable, someone that
well, exactly.
I'm
So
getting every single time we get. I don't want someone that's going to be like, what am I getting today? Am I getting
yeah.
happy Billy, or am I getting manic Billy, or am I getting depressed Billy? Am I
Manic
getting
Billy.
am I getting
Yeah.
Billy on steroids? Am I getting drunk Billy? What Billy am I getting today? Like
No,
no
it's just
friend is gonna want that.
no,
Like,
it's
oh,
just
we're rolling the dice today.
it's just a little PSA announcement for those who like to sort of say that kind of thing of like, you don't know me, as if that puts them in a stronger position. It's like, no, you fool. You've
Make
just
you look even dumber.
you just made yourself look like a complete crazy person that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
No, they're
that's
trying to
the
be
point.
smart. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
But
and the thing is, if if you're trying to help somebody, like I said before, they have to want it themselves. And we can't
that's
we
like, is that fair enough to say that's like half the battle almost?
no, that's the whole battle.
That's the whole battle.
It's a whole
Oh,
battle
right.
because the helping part's the easy part. Like I
Yeah.
said, they have to admit that they have a problem, and they have to want to change. Those two
Okay.
things are the first step. If they can't do
So
that, there's no point of helping them because they'll.
do you know what ego syntonic and dystonic are?
No, I do not.
I'll give you a quick definition, and then
Okay.
it'll probably it'll go with this idea of the battle thing. So
Okay.
ego syntonic is when you line up. We were talking about alignment earlier. Is when you line up with your ego, right? So you agree with your ego. And dystonic is where you don't agree with your ego.
Okay.
Now, where this gets interesting is that in healthy people,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to be ego syntonic, to be in agreement with your ego.
Okay.
And so if you're a healthy person and you're experiencing ego dystonic, something is kind of going out of sync here.
So,
However,
like, just
yeah,
the dystonic would be like if my ego says like I need to do X, but I'm really doing Y, my body's out of alignment. Is that what you're basically saying in a nutshell? I'm
yeah,
understanding.
it's like your ego is saying, "I'm the greatest, I'm perfect, I'm the best, I'm undefeatable, like I'm invincible," and you're like, "No, I'm not." So that's dystonic. You're not in agreement with what your
Yes. Okay.
ego is saying to you, right? But
Perfect.
if you're in agreement, and you go, "Oh yes, ego, yes, I agree. We are the best. We are the greatest. We are invincible." Then you're syntonic. You're syncing up with your ego.
Okay.
So in healthy people, syntonic is a good thing because it's like everything is in alignment. We're keeping ourselves in check, and everything's good. But if you're dystonic, if you're a healthy person but you're dystonic, that's not a good sign.
Okay.
Now, if you are a unhealthy person
Mm-hmm.
and you're ego syntonic, it's basically the inverse. So if you're ego syntonic but you're an unhealthy person, that's bad news.
Yes,
And
because
so
agreeing with the bad behavior. That makes sense.
exactly.
Okay.
So really, if you are unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
for you to have change or hope of change, you need to be ego dystonic. You need to be like, whatever it is I'm doing, I don't like it.
Yes, agreed. That's admitting that you have a problem. Yeah,
Then there
100%.
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the battle that we're describing moments before, where it's like um, that realization that what your ego is telling you isn't good for you, and you disagree with it.
The only way you can get there as a friend is showing them the behavior. They have to admit their problem. You could if the person keeps admitting, I don't have a problem, I don't have a problem, and you keep showing them they have a problem, drop it. You're basically take your head and stop bashing against a wall because you're gonna get nothing accomplished. But sometimes people they don't see like it's basically the metaphorical mirror. They don't see that they're a problem. But if you show them the behavior that it's a problem, like if you admit to them, look, you're doing X, Y, and Z. I love you, man, but you're being an asshole here. You're being an asshole because of X, Y, and Z. Well, then you go, oh, if the person goes, oh, and means and not saying this is platitudes, but really means it. Oh, I had no idea. I really didn't mean to cause you these problems. I'm going to work on it. And then you go, great. The next thing you should think in your head is show me. You don't have to tell them there, but show me that you changed. Okay. That's the key thing. Because most people don't realize they have a problem unless they're shown it. Because it's really hard to be self-aware. No, humans are not designed to be self-aware. That's my conclusion.
Yeah, that's
So
another topic for like this whole like self-awareness thing. Um, is a tough one because a lot of people it kind of ties in with that dystonic because they'll turn around and be like, "Oh yes, I'm totally self-aware. I know what I'm doing," but really they don't. You know?
they don't. And the thing is, diagnosing one of the 7 deadly sins is how you fix the problem. I mean, think about it. What is the reason why I have an issue? Is it sloth? Am I lazy? Is it greed? Am I being envious? Am I wanting what you have? That's greed or envy, depending on how you want to look at it. Is the reason why I'm not going to change is because I'm stubborn, which I guess which would be bullheaded, which could be labeled as sloth. Like I'm just saying, most problems in your life come down to the 7 deadly sins. And if you can recognize what sin it is, you have a path to fix it. If it's
So
sloth,
that
then I need to give you a game plan to make you not sloth. If it's
now
envy,
I'm not particularly a religious person, so the 7 deadly sins I'm sort of familiar. I can't name them all off the top of my
we
head,
will
but
go through all of them right now.
I think it's a good
It's a good recognize.
another good set of tools to help calibrate yourself with.
Yep.
Now we're beginning to run out of time, so
I'll make
I
this real,
think
and you can
okay,
answer
all right. So
just so you can answer that question.
and then we'll segue into what Outlaw is saying.
Yep. And my computer decides to take a crap. Of course, I gotta love it. All right. So the 7 deadly sins are it is pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. If you can recognize those are the root causes of the bad behavior, you can solve it. So let's go through them real quick. Pride. So that's the ego. If your ego is in the way, how do I fix it?
Oh, Bandit, where have you gone? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait. We need to summon Bandit. We'll get him back. Yoo-hoo! Bandit, are you there? Dun dun dun. Shit. Did that work? No. Okay. Well, he was going to give us the 7 deadly sins. I hope he realizes he's disconnected and not just somewhere out there is Bandit reading off the 7 deadly sins to himself, thinking that we're all listening. So, okay. Unfortunately, we'll have to segue into what Outlaw was saying, because I was going to ask him, at what point, if we look at the question here, is it too much that, despite best intentions and wishes and prayers and all that, you kind of just gotta leave them to their own devices, even if they're begging you and they really want to change? They're just so helpless or whatever. So is there redemption, and then is there repentance? Now some people believe everyone is redeemable, but from my sort of walks of life, when we talk about narcissism, there's always that old question, can it be cured? And it depends, kind of. It's the idea of curing or treating it is growing, so there's more and more hope for it. But as a definition, if someone is full blown NPD, that is the cure. So there is no cure in full blown NPD if you're going by definition, technicalities angle. Because if you were to cure them, parenthesis, cure them, to change them, then they weren't really a narcissist to begin with, because it becomes a contradiction. So if you were to radical acceptance and change a NPD, full-blown NPD, narcissistic person, then what you're doing, in a sense, is someone's there.
Man, I was doing a good rant too. I have no idea what happened. I went through. What did you miss? Did you miss all the 7 deadly sins that I just went through?
Yes.
Shit. I had a good rant going. Okay, so the 7 deadly sins. Oh my god.
Told you guys he'd be talking to himself.
I know. I'm so mad. I was on a ball right there. Okay, so let's see if this works. 7. Do you still hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so the 7 deadly sins are pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. Okay, so I'll do a real quick rundown. Pride, that's ego. So what How do we fix the ego? What is causing you to be so prideful? We diagnose the issue that's causing you to be pride, and we shame you to death, and we fix the issue. Okay. This is a quick rundown. Greed. Greed is basically a lack of self-esteem. I'm coveting what I have because I don't want to lose it. So we fix the self-esteem, we fix the root problem, greed goes away. Wrath is destruction. How do we fix wrath? We basically flip wrath on its head. We take this negative energy, this pain, the suffering, whatever it is, and we put it into something productive. We put it into a hobby. We put it into fixing yourself. We change the behavior. We fix the wrath. Envy. So if I really want something and it's taking over my life, I need to identify what I'm envious of and either come up with a game plan to get that, or recognize I have a problem and divert my energies elsewhere. Lust, same thing with lust. If it's lusting for your wife or someone else, you might have to take yourself out of that situation. But most of the time, if you're lusting for something, you need to come up with a game plan of getting that if it's practical. And if it's not practical, you need to deal with the lust and take your energies and put it somewhere else. Put it into a hobby or something else, and I'll solve lust. Gluttony. Gluttony and sloth are hand in hand. Gluttony, why am I eating too much? Is it because is it a self-esteem issue? Does it make me feel better when I eat? And that's why I do it. I need to identify the problem of the lust. I'm sorry, the problem of the why I'm being gluttonous, and fix it. Change the behavior, you fix gluttony. Same thing with sloth. Why am I lazy? Is it lack of motivation? Is it lack of energy? Am I depressed? Find the reason why you're tired and why you're slothful, and change the behavior, and that will fix that. So that's the rundown real quick.
Okay, thank you.
It was better the first round, but summing it up real quick.
Yeah, I might have to cover a kind of psychological sort of, at least my take on the 7 deadly sins.
I would, because that's the root cause of most problems. It's the 7 deadly sins.
Well, and that's probably why they call them the 7 deadly sins as well.
Yeah.
So let's move into this idea. We were covering it in your absence, but we'll sort of kick it off again, because I'm going to throw in a word maladaptive in the terms. So we look at people who are beyond help, even though they might say they want it. They're their own worst enemy. They keep making boo-boos and blundering things up. Just try as they might. You give them credit, kind of thing, but they just can't get it together. So at what point is it like, man, sorry, but you've got some other people you need to help, or something like that, or sorry, you're pulling me down with you, or something, or
well,
good luck for you.
There's two things. If you walk away from someone that's in need, this might be the last time they ask for help. And I'm not saying an extreme. This happens a lot of times. If you're the last person they come to and you basically disappoint them, they might self-delete. So put that in the back of your head.
But I'm not saying like you haven't tried at all. But let's say, like, you've tried to help them, and they're just.
I understand that, but
it's just not working.
But I'm getting to that. You don't know. You might be their last hope. So if by you walking away, I know this is tough, but you walking away, they might self-delete. So that's got to be the back of your mind.
Okay,
now,
but
you can admit that look,
though,
I'm trying to help them, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not walking away, but I'm giving you someone that has better advice than me. Don't just walk away. You have to come up with an exit plan and someone to help motivate. So if it's bigger than what you can handle, like I said before, figure out what health insurance they have, and then call up all the providers. Like, I have a friend, he has your coverage. He's having problems with this. Is this something your practice covers? And then make a list of psychiatric doctors in your area where you can get them help that they need. Like, don't just like say, oh, I can't help you anymore, and walk away. You need to come up with a good exit strategy and a way so they can actually get the help that they need. Because like I said, this could be the last you could be the last time this person talked to somebody.
Yes. So even though don't be an asshole about it. But like, and obviously it's not like particularly a choice that you're the last person that could be helpful to them, but at the same time, I mean, it must be like a really dire situation if it turns out that you really are the last person, because
It
imagine
doesn't have
that,
to be.
because it's like
Doesn't
a
have to be dire.
monumental.
I mean,
I
think about
suppose
it.
it doesn't have
If
to be
this is your
dire.
best friend, if this is your best friend that's coming for advice, and you don't help them or you let them down, do you think they're ever going to open up to you about anything important ever again? This is the risk. This is what I'm talking about. If you accept that you're trying to help them and you let them down, they'll never open up to you ever again, because they'll view it as misplaced trust, because that's kind of what you're doing right now.
No,
You're
I think,
misplacing their trust, because
yeah, but
you at
I'm
some point said, I'm going to help you out, and then you backtracked. They're never going to trust you again.
it's. I mean, I see what you're the the viewpoint, the angle that you're coming from, but I'm thinking of, like, maybe it's not a best friend, but there's, because to help someone is you have to be responsible for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going to parent them, you have sort of like parental duties to an extent. Even if someone was being arrested by the police, once they've got the handcuffs on, they become a responsibility of the officer, because their care is in because
Yes,
they're
but this is not the
but
relationship we've been talking about the whole time. The
no,
relationship we were talking about is the best form of advice is always helping someone that's close. Like your help when you're being a mentor and you're actually trying to be someone that help change somebody, it's going to be someone close. It's not going to be
I'm
this third
hinting.
party, like, TED talk.
Yeah, but I'm hinting towards like the idea of the the friend here, the
Hmm.
one giving the help, having a sense of guilt for failing their buddy that you need.
Well, if you can't help the person, then you gotta be extra due diligent in other aspects of the person's life. So what I mean by that is, if you can't give them the help, you go and get them the help, and then instead of helping them with knowledge, you're going to take stuff off their plate.
Yeah, but then you're not the last person
No, but I'm
able to
saying
give them help
you're
if you're getting it.
you're what you ask. If you have to walk away from someone helping them, then you take stuff off their plate so they can get the help they need. So, for example, if they're stressed out because they're having money problems, you're going in and helping them with a budget, doing all this other background stuff to get them so they don't have to worry about the money, so they can have that good headspace to get the help that they need. So you're still helping them. You might not be the help that gives them the advice, but you're doing other things to get them the help that they need. You're taking stuff off their plate so they can focus more on their mental health. That's a way of helping somebody. It might not be they might not you might not be prepared to give them the advice that they need, but that doesn't mean you can help them out other ways.
Okay, all right. I think it's slightly moving the goalpost there, but okay, never mind. So
I'm gonna try. Well, I
I can
answered the
say
first
like
question.
like
You
they're the
passed it.
last person to give them help, but then it's like, no, but they can help you get the help that you need. So it's like, well, they're not
Well,
really the
if you're
last
the last
person to get
person,
you help then.
then you do everything in your power to get them the help that they need.
Yeah.
That
But
answer
going
you
back to
straight
this
up.
point of like, at what point does someone say, look, I can't, I love you and everything. I wish you the best. I hope it works out for you, but I have to like let go. Like either this is pulling me down with you or something like that. But like at what point do you cut them off? Like, I'm guessing basically when the friend becomes toxic and is becoming. I mean,
It
that's in some ways you could say they're already toxic because they're unhealthy, but they're becoming more and more parasitic, more and more abusive, maybe more and more exploitative of your good nature or something.
okay.
Or
Okay. If
where's the cutoff line here?
Well, the cutoff line would first cutoff line is if they're not asked, if you're trying to give them advice and they're not taking it, don't give them more. Put up or shut up.
Right.
Like
And obviously, if
there's a
they're
point.
abusing you, that's another line of sort of
Yeah,
like,
there's a point where you're doing everything in your power to help them out, and they're not giving you the I want to change attitude anymore. That's changed. Well, then stop giving advice. Don't reward bad behavior. The next thing, if they ends up you find out that this person's just a narcissist or this person's a psychopath and just using me, to refill that endless bottomless pit of ego that can never get filled up, and they're draining my ego to fill their ego up. That's the case. You need to call them out if it's in a safe environment, or sometimes if you realize that this person is a true psychopath, you just need to walk away, delete their number,
So
take it as an L, and walk away. Just for your personal sanity, and you know, you deal with enough psychopaths. Guess what?
yeah,
You're either going to become one, or you're going to be the victim of one.
right, because as much as you might have intentions for your friends' well-being, you've also got a responsibility to your own self-care. So I think this is something maybe a lot of people ignore, is when they, in the back of their mind, they can feel a little bit either like a emotional tampon or a emotional punching bag. And this isn't like on a rare occasion, because everyone can, like maybe me and you, for example, like one day I might phone you up and say, Bandit, can I just rant and just beat you up a little bit because I feel so but if I'm doing it day in and day out, constantly treating you like a punch bag, at some point you're going to be like, I'm not a punch bag, man. You're abusing me. You're
Well, that's
abusing
the
our
thing.
friendship.
You need to call it anytime someone does bad behavior. You need to have self-respect. You need to call out the bad behavior, so it never gets to that point. Like, if you started treating me like shit, and I kept on going on your streams, and you keep treating me like shit, whose fault is it? Is it my fault or your fault?
Yes. So
It's
back to this
definitely my
whole,
fault.
But what's the? I did a stream where I mentioned it, where it's like you dictate how you want to be treated or something like that.
Yes.
You tell people how to respect you or something. I can't remember
Yes.
how I phrased it.
And the thing is, you can't demand respect. Respect is earned. If they're not giving you respect, guess what? Bye bye. I walk away.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's half the reason why I say you should only be doing this with people that you're very close with, and that you're their accountability person, that you're really, because a lot of these issues, you won't. I'm not saying it will never happen, but it'd be a lot less that it would happen if it's someone that you're already having a close relationship with, and that you trust, a lifelong friend. They're not going to pull this shit on you. It's the people that you don't know too well, or this is their bad behavior and they keep doing stuff like this. Those are the people that are going to use it, and then it's kind of like you did it to yourself. But at the same time, sometimes your friends are going to fall on their face. They're going to make mistakes. Like, it's not going to be a straight path to get you from A to B. You're gonna take 50 steps back before you can take one step forward. So sometimes you just gotta, like, I hate to say it, suck it up. And if they truly, if you truly want,
wait, shit, I need to. Yeah, you said suck. Sorry.
I said,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay,
I'll rephrase that. If
there we go. There we go. Hashtag embrace the suck. Yeah.
embrace
Suck it
the
up.
suck. Yep.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck. Sometimes when you're helping someone, they're going to fall on their face. And you can't just be the first time they fall on their face that you're just going to collapse and say, nope, you tried, I'm done. No, they're going to fall on their face. They're going to make mistakes. You have to build them back up. You need patience. And if you don't have the patience, recognize that. That's okay. You might not have the patience. You're not the person to help them then. You need to get them the help that they need then. You need someone that's patient, someone that's better capable of fixing the person. And that's the other thing. You need to recognize your role in this scenario. Are you a cause of their problems? Sometimes you might love somebody, but you got to walk away because you recognize that you're the problem. Does that suck? Absolutely, but that's what you got to do sometimes. And other times you might not be able to help the person, but you're going to do everything in your power to help them in other ways. Take responsibility away from them so they can get the help they need. Do the research for them. There's things that you can do as a friend to help the person out.
Yeah. And with this, well, that's going back to the first start, like helping them is really the first part of this stream. But we're looking at the sort of like the the grieving, the it's sad to let them go kind of side of things. Bit of a somber note to end the stream on, I suppose. But it needs to be covered. It's just as important as trying to help someone sometimes.
Well, I'll end this on, since we're running out of time. I'll end this on a happy note. If someone's coming to you for help, look at look at the fact that they're coming up to you as a blessing and a burden. It's a blessing because that person trusts you more than almost anybody else. So look at it that way. This person's trusting me with this information to help them out. Okay, recognize that as a good thing, and recognize that it's also a burden. I have to burden their pain as much as they're going through it because I need to help them through it. Okay, so it's the yin and the yang. So
I want to preface that though with put it into a context of like, if everything is above board and up and up, and we're not talking about someone who's trying to leverage your empathy or try to leverage your
yes,
kind nature or something like that, because obviously, like we were saying before, pros could be cons, and someone opening up to you, I mean, that's a like step one for an abuser, is to open up so that they don't pose as a threat to you, and they kind of elicit, they pull you in through charity, which is quite a dark, sinister way of ensnaring someone.
Mhm. But you need to be better at recognizing that behavior that happened to you. So, like, just like everything else, if you need to be smarter in the and say, "Oh, I need to recognize this bad behavior. If I see someone keep doing this behavior, I have the option of either calling them out, avoiding them, disassociating myself with them, or calling somebody that can fix the problem that's better suited than me. I need to take action. There is some responsibility. I'm not saying it's your fault, but there is some responsibility in the fact that if someone's treating you like crap and you keep going back for more, some point it's your fault.
Yes, this is the what's the right word for it? The oversight of the victim minded person, where they think, oh, I'm a victim, that means I got no responsibility. It's like, wrong. There are some big responsibilities there, being a victim.
But it's also,
yeah,
there's also toxic mentorship too, which is the people that they got to put their 2 cents in and everything, and they're just trying to help people no matter if they want to ask it or not. So you got to recognize that too.
yeah.
Everything's a
So
balance.
is a very broad subject, isn't it? Like boundaries, how
Yes.
and boundaries and limitations, and to what extent, and at what point is your help? Because it's one thing to give someone an assistance, but then it's like giving them the training wheels on the bicycle. But at some point, you've got to take those wheels off and let them do it themselves, even if they fall off the bike. They've got to learn from that, to learn to pick themselves up and not rely on you constantly to have to do it for them.
Yep. And
so yeah, so we're going to wrap this up, I think.
okay.
And like, as well, maybe I should. Do you want? So, do you have any closing statements? And if people in the chat want something quickly they want to say,
All right. Well, I'll
now's
say
the
my
time.
closing statements. Yeah, definitely chat if you have any questions. Just do at Billy so we can recognize it real quick. Closing statements. Okay. On that, we'll just answer the quick points. How do we identify and help people who want to escape the drama? If they want it, they need to do it themselves. You can't force it. So you need to do it on their own. They need to come to you. How do you inspire them to be better care of themselves? You need to come up with a game plan and figure out what their problems are so you can fix it. Who is really worth saving or educating with our time? The only way to determine that is they want to need help, they're asking for help, and they're willing to change. That's all that's needed. If they don't have those, then then the change isn't gonna take place.
Very good. Okay. Yeah, very concise, and so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, everybody, like, could we give Bandit a thanks? Now, Bandit, this is the third episode in this series. I don't know if you want to maybe continue this series. We could talk about this privately.
I'm enjoying. To be honest with you, I'm enjoying this. So if you're down,
we could,
I'm definitely down for this.
we could do streams going in totally different direction.
Yeah.
So this series was basically looking at change.
Is there any
So,
topics you wanted to talk about next time? Or
yeah. There are plenty. Like, there's a long list of, well, it kind of leads into what I was going to say as my closing statements,
okay.
which would be that you said earlier that there isn't a straight, simple way about any of this really. Like life isn't a straight path. We talk about walking a fine line, but it turns out that line isn't a straight line. It's kind of meandering around, and so in the broader context of everything that we're saying here, it makes life that much more, in my opinion, like much more interesting and worthwhile. So as maybe upsetting as some people might think their situation is or their life is, you can't have the good without the bad, and I think it just makes life all the more not necessarily like fulfilled, but like richer. A rich life is about having the experience of life and a richness of life. So all of this, I think, contributes towards that.
Yep. And if you think about it, life is what you give, and life is what you do in return. The more the more positive things that you do in helping other people, the better your life's going to be. There is a reward. There is a self-rewarding part of this where, and this is goes and could be going toxic, but there is seeing someone grow as an individual and helping them out and recognizing stuff in that you thought you can never do and seeing their change makes you happy. The biggest happiest you'll ever feel in your life is someone, not yourself, that you've served, or someone else that you've given knowledge to, and then they apply that knowledge. Could be a kid, could be, being a mentor. That's the rewarding part of this.
It's the connections we make with people, which is part of that communication.
Exactly.
So so for everybody, maybe that's a bit of encouragement there to be responsible, but to open up a little bit more and be honest and communicate better.
Exactly.
Because if you're closing up and you're not going to talk to anyone because you hate everyone and all this, in a way, you're not really living your life properly. So with that, let's let me see. Oh, whatever. Some sort of jingle. Ta-da! Right. So good night. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Bandit.
Thanks for having me on.